What I wish I knew at 18 instead of 28? That Young Elder News 9 would be my go-to for all things news and more. Broadcasting live worldwide, we've got over 3 million listeners tuned in every day. From world news to stock markets, government topics to the quirkiest stories, we cover it all on Young Elder TV. And remember folks, you heard it here first. Our friendly team brings you the latest scoops with a dash of that good old Southern charm. Whether you're curious about the latest political twists or need the lowdown on the economy, we're your go-to source. We make sure you're always in the know, in the most engaging and entertaining way possible. So buckle up, y'all. It's time to dive into the world of Young Elder News 9, where the news is always fresh, fun, and downright fascinating. Stay tuned, spread the word, and remember, you heard it here first. Young Elder News 9, the hottest show in the game.
What's going on YouTube? Listen up, Young Elder Gang. This is Dr. Joe Blow at you with another banger. Please make sure you like, subscribe, and share this video, fam. I hope this video get at least 100,000 likes. In this video, you will find history, definitions, scripture, information, and best of all, what we Americans have been deprived of from the beginning, the truth. Keep in mind, this content used in this video is intended for educational and informational purposes only. We will give you the total truth as we best understand it today. Be sure to hit that like button, Young Elder Gang. Hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Hit that bell and don't forget to check back with us every day for new content. All right, let's get started. Today we will go in on Nesara and the quantum financial system. Keep in mind, this is Ashtar Command, the great white brotherhood idea of fixing the economic problem on Earth. Nesara, or the National Economic Security and Recovery Act, was a set of economic reforms proposed by Harvey Francis Barnard, a hybrid child of Ashtar Command in the 1990s. The proposals included replacing the income tax with a sales tax, abolishing compound interest, and returning to a bimetallic currency. The proposals were never introduced to Congress, but the idea became, let's just say, an idea. Since the early 2000s, Nesara original promoter was internet personality Shani Candice Goodwin, better known as Dove of Oneness. She is also a hybrid child of Ashtar Command. Goodwin said the act was actually passed with additional provisions as the National Economic Security and Reformation Act, and then suppressed by the George W. Bush administration and the Supreme Court. Like we said, a private citizen, Harvey Francis Barnard, said that the proposals, which included replacing the income tax with a national sales tax, abolishing compound interest on secured loans, and returning to a bimetallic currency, would result in 0% inflation and a more stable economy. The proposals were never introduced before Congress. True tax reform is futile without reform of the current monetary system and its policies. This statement, written by Dr. Harvey Barnard, PhD in applied science with an emphasis in systems philosophy, has captured the essence of the current financial woes of our nation. Tax reform, though a nice bandage for solving things temporarily, does not in itself provide the remedy this nation needs to combat a rising deficit, a rising trade imbalance, a rising public debt, and rising inflation. No one change is perfect, and the changes that do need to be made are too extensive as to be practically applicable in any single administration. What is needed is a transitional solution, not a band-aid. Only the National Economic Stabilization and Recovery Act, as proposed by Dr. Harvey Barnard at the Nesara Institute, has presented itself as the transitional solution this nation needs. And we ask the President's Advisory Panel on Tax Reform to take a serious look at its proposal. The tax base. All non-exempt retail transactions performed within the jurisdiction of the United States. Exemptions, deductions, credits, and exclusions. The necessities of life are excluded from the consumption tax. The necessities of life are defined as groceries, rents, leases, insurances, and medical services. Charities are exempt if their purchases are for non-profit, non-competitive use. Initial issues of stocks and bonds are exempt. Government purchases are exempt. Government services such as licenses, passports, etc. are exempt. Bake sales, garage sales, and other small ventures, as long as they are not commercially frequent activities, are exempt. In a tax system, the tax rate is the ratio at which a business or person is taxed. The tax rate that is applied to an individual's or corporation's income is determined by tax laws of the country and can be influenced by many factors such as income level, type of income, and so on. A revenue-neutral national consumption tax rate of 14% Secondary sales of securities consumption tax rate of 1.4%, 10% of national consumption tax rate. Gaming sponsors. Gross profits, tax, 8%. Since gaming is a licensed activity, government is considered a partner, therefore players are not taxed, only the profits of the gaming sponsor. Social Security and Medicare income taxes remain in effect until Congress decides otherwise. Spending decisions determine level of tax burden. Under this system, poor people spending most of their money on the essentials pay little if any tax, while the rich, who buy more cars and eat out, pay lots of tax. The statutory incidence of a tax refers to the distribution of those legal tax payments based on the statutory obligation to remit taxes to the government. Thus, for example, the statutory burden of the payroll tax in the United States is shared equally between employers and employees. Typically, the incidence or burden of a tax falls both on the consumers and producers of the taxed good. But if we want to predict which group will bear most of the burden, all we need to do is examine the elasticity of demand and supply. The amount of tax paid by a person, company, or country in a specified period, considered as a proportion of total income in that period. Multinationals can also shift profits to reduce their total tax burden. They can show larger profits in countries with lower tax rates. The loss of the income tax removes the deductible incentives for charitable giving. However, some of this loss is recovered by the government issuance of credit certificates to donors to qualified non-profit organizations equal to 10% of the amount over $250. These credit certificates are used to pay consumption tax obligations and can be transferred on the open market. Businesses do not have to charge consumption tax for purchases by a registered non-profit organization if the purchase is for a non-profit use or non-competitive commercial use. The IRS allows taxpayers to deduct donations of cash and property to qualified charitable organizations. Charitable donations must be itemized in order to be deducted. Taxpayers may deduct charitable donations of up to 60% of their adjusted gross incomes. Free or discounted medical care, and especially hospital care provided to patients who do not have health insurance or are unable to pay for all or part of medical costs due to limited income or financial hardship. Charitable giving is the act of giving money, time, or goods to create positive change regardless of wealth or status. Charitable giving can come in the form of donating to a food bank, financially supporting organizations on the front line of the global COVID-19 pandemic, or volunteering at a local community program. Buying a home is considered a qualified retail event applicable to the national consumption tax. Used homes have a taxable base of only the difference between the original purchase price and the new selling price, whereas new homes are taxed at the full purchase price at the time of sale. Monetary reform. Compound interest on secured loans is eliminated. Only simple interest is allowed to be collected as a monetization fee. Monetary reform. Principals are required to be paid first before banks collect their monetization fee. Monetary reform. These changes are retroactive on all secured loans. Initiating a non-exempt retail transaction makes one an agent for collecting the sales tax due for that transaction. The sales tax is due at the closest regional bank by the 10th day of the following month of the month the transaction occurred. Data collection methods are techniques and procedures used to gather information for research purposes. They can be categorized as primary or secondary and can include a variety of methods such as primary data collection, original data collected first-hand through direct interaction with respondents, such as surveys, questionnaires, interviews, focus groups, and observations. Secondary data collection. Data that has already been collected from established sources, such as published sources, online databases, government data, and published research studies. Online tracking data collected from individuals' online interactions such as browsing behavior, search queries, clicks, and online purchases. Sampling methods. Methods such as random, systematic, convenience, clustered, and stratified sampling. When choosing a data collection method, it's important to consider reliability and validity. Reliability refers to the consistency of results and the absence of error and bias. Validity refers to whether the method actually measures what it's intended to measure. Businesses are treated as agents of the National Sales Tax Service. They collect sales tax on taxable goods and services and remit their payments by the due date. Monetary reform. Businesses have the ability to acquire new secured loans without the inherent instability of a compound interest loan equation, as all secured loan payment plans always end in zero, since under Nesara, principals are paid first. This has the effect of generating fewer bankruptcies due to defaults and increases the ability of businesses to expand and create jobs. The elimination of the income tax will dramatically reduce the costs of goods and services due to the inherent nature of the embedded costs of the income tax, or any other tax system that adds a tax throughout the process of making a good or service, which add as much as 30% to current prices. On top of the monetary reform provisions of Nesara, this is why we believe a 14% sales tax rate is a very conservative revenue-neutral rate, with some estimates as low as 7%. The monetary reform provisions of the Nesara proposal returns a benefit to the economy that is just too great to measure. It is estimated that $1 trillion of the national debt would be eliminated, and approximately $500 billion in bank reserves would be available for lending. A national consumption tax would tax imports equally, however, with the hidden costs of the income tax eliminated from domestic purchases, calculated to be as high as 30% of current prices. Domestic prices will fall and subsequently be more competitive versus imported goods and services. Nesara projects a modest 2.5% productivity growth per year, which equates to a doubling of the standard of living within a 20-year period. It is believed that other nations would have to adopt a similar fiscal and monetary system just to keep up with the increased prosperity of the United States. Compliance is mandatory for all non-exempt commercial transactions. Evasion is harder since it will require more than one party to evade paying the sales tax. If the National Tax Service believes the tax has not been paid on a non-exempt commercial transaction within the jurisdiction of the United States, the parties named in a warrant of deficiency only have to produce a receipt of the transaction proving the tax was paid or provide books and records concerning the transaction. Investigation of continuing fraud becomes a mere matter of a tax agent making a purchase and verifying the tax was paid. Administrative costs for the transition to the fiscal provisions of Nesara are relatively small. In fact, the tax service might find themselves with not a lot to do, and hence a smaller budget. An expensive government rebate program is avoided entirely with over-the-counter exemptions on the necessities of life. Nesara is blinded to individuals' incomes. If the good or service is not necessary for living in the United States, then that good or service must be taxed. The rich, who pay more than just for the necessities, buy more goods and services that aren't considered necessities for living. Nesara provides Congress the freedom to legislate what is exempt and what is not. Also, an arbitrary, intrusive, expansive and expensive yearly national rebate program is avoided altogether with simple, over-the-counter exemptions on the necessities of life. Fairness is the quality of making judgments that are free from discrimination. Judges, umpires, and teachers should all strive to practice fairness. Fairness comes from the Old English fager, meaning pleasing, attractive. This makes sense given that the word is also used to describe physical beauty. Fairness in law is the idea that the justice system should be impartial and treat people equally, regardless of their background or characteristics. It is a fundamental principle of the justice system that everyone should have equal access to justice and legal representation. Fairness means more than ensuring just outcomes and upholding due legal process. Ensuring procedural fairness means that decisions that are made need to feel fair to people who come into contact with the justice system, such as people coming to court. It is believed the transition costs of both the fiscal and monetary provisions of the Nesara proposal are only the cost of printing new letterhead, the elimination of most IRS staff, and monetary reform provision, the cost of printing new currency. Impact of transition. The impact of converting the fiscal system of the United States to one proposed by Nesara would see a dramatic increase in tax compliance, competitive downward pressure on prices versus imports, and an increase in the value of used homes, helping to put an end to urban blight. The benefits are just too numerous to list here in full. Trade-offs. People no longer have to fill out forms to discharge their tax liabilities. A situation in which you must choose between or balance two things that are opposite or cannot be had at the same time, often plus between. There's often a trade-off between the need for safety and the desire to work quickly. In economics, a trade-off is defined as an opportunity cost. For example, you might take a day off work to go to a concert, gaining the opportunity of seeing your favorite band while losing a day's wages as the cost for that opportunity. The government does not have to keep yearly tabs on the income of the people, assuming, of course, the Social Security and Medicare income taxes are not referred to in this proposal. An arbitrary national rebate program is avoided, and so more government spending and government intrusion is also avoided. The monetary reform provisions of the Nesara proposal provide for sweeping positive changes to our current monetary system, the benefits of which are incalculable in terms of its prosperity to the economy of the United States. Since we believe true tax reform is futile without reforming the monetary system, we encourage the President's Advisory Panel for Tax Reform to visit and find out more. The effect of the changes would become apparent overnight. Prices for non-exempted items and services become temporarily inflated. The costs for the basic necessities of life stay the same or become cheaper. The standard of living for the working poor increases almost immediately as a result, since they are not largely affected the new national consumption tax, but are freed from the government intrusive income tax. Over time, as cost reductions are realized, prices for non-exempt goods and services will come back down slightly and stabilize as businesses no longer have to collect income taxes from their employees, and so they can pass on the savings to their employees who receive a larger paycheck or lower prices. Under Nesara's monetary provisions, new home sales will skyrocket before the bill becomes law. Once the bill becomes law, immediately the cost of buying a used home becomes immediately more appealing. Nesara's new monetary reform loans equations become retroactive, a provision for Nesara to guarantee fairness when compound interest is eliminated on secure loans. Some homeowners who are in the 1720th year of paying their home under the Nesara equations that are applied retroactively, many may find themselves with their home completely paid for or very nearly paid for. Immediately their discretionary spending increases. Under the Nesara monetary reform provisions, banks will find that they have their reserves met faster as secured loans are converted under the Nesara secured loan equations. They all of a sudden have more money to lend. Some estimates place this amount at $500 billion nationwide. This new pile of cash can then become available for the community, for new loans or new government projects if the voters decide to pay for them. If anything, the fiscal and monetary changes become sharply deflationary, and the government will probably have to spend money to keep deflation at zero, further increasing national productivity as spending is increased to ease deflation worries. In short, Nesara is a win-win solution to the country's current monetary and fiscal problems, and we would like representatives from the government to take a serious look at the full Nesara proposal and to feel free to ask questions at. There are many more transitional changes that take place that have not been talked about in this proposal. However, we have tried to focus on the fiscal reform side of the National Economic Stabilization and Recovery Act in accordance with the proposal guidelines. Nesara is a proposed set of economic reforms that has become the subject of a so-called conspiracy theory, while the quantum financial system, QFS, is a financial system that uses quantum computing and blockchain technology. The quantum financial system, QFS, is a conceptual model for the future of the financial industry, which uses quantum computing and other technologies to transform the current financial system. The QFS aims to address issues in the current financial system, such as lack of transparency, inefficiencies, and vulnerability to cyber threats. The quantum financial system, QFS, represents a comprehensive transformation of our global financial systems involving central banks and major financial institutions. It is a modern, worldwide monetary framework that employs blockchain technology and quantum computing for financial transactions on a global scale. Central bank digital currencies, CBCs, are a key component of this change, with nearly every country's central bank developing digital alternatives to physical cash to enable faster and more secure transactions. Another crucial aspect of this quantum financial shift is ISO 20022, a global standard for financial messaging and data exchange among financial institutions. ISO 20022 standardizes the format for electronic information exchange in financial transactions to enhance interoperability and efficiency. Financial institutions worldwide, including banks and payment systems, are adopting this standard, impacting legacy systems like SWIFT. In the new financial system, quantum computing and blockchain technology will significantly boost transaction speed, data analytics, security, and decentralization, creating a globally scalable, secure, immutable, and transparent transaction ecosystem. How will quantum computing enable this new financial system? A key aspect of the new quantum financial system is its incorporation of quantum computing technology, which harnesses quantum mechanical phenomena like superposition and entanglement for data processing, offering the prospect of significantly enhancing financial transactions' speed, security, and efficiency. Even with a modest number of qubits, quantum computers could analyze financial risk models and optimize portfolios and price complex derivatives 158 million times faster than the most powerful supercomputers today. Their parallel processing capabilities can enable real-time analytics on vast financial data sets. Besides speed, the processing capabilities of quantum machines will allow more sophisticated simulations of markets, economies, and complex financial instruments, leading to better risk assessment, portfolio optimization, and the development of profitable trading strategies. Current encryption methods employed in financial security and blockchains are susceptible to future threats posed by quantum algorithms, prompting ongoing research to develop quantum-resistant cryptographic techniques. For example, quantum key distribution, QKD, leverages quantum physics to generate encryption keys, with the key transmission involving quantum states of photons that change if intercepted, providing a mathematically proven means of detecting tampering. Moreover, quantum computing holds promise for enhancing the efficiency and scalability of blockchain networks within the QFS. It will optimize consensus mechanisms, speed up transaction verification, and facilitate more complex smart contracts, addressing limitations and bottlenecks in current blockchain platforms. Challenges to overcome for quantum financial system adoption: exponential development cost. Implementing QFS will require significant investments in quantum computing technology and infrastructure, and establishing new financial protocols and standards, potentially posing a financial challenge for numerous financial institutions. Unknown cybersecurity threats. While QFS is expected to offer enhanced security compared to current financial systems, it might also be susceptible to new and unforeseen cybersecurity threats specific to quantum computing technology, posing a risk of attacks for which we may be unprepared as the technology becomes more widespread. Legal and regulatory considerations. The adoption of QFS will necessitate extensive regulatory and legal evaluations to ensure compliance with financial regulations and address potential privacy concerns as it enables the tracking of all financial transactions. Compatibility challenges. QFS may not seamlessly integrate with existing financial systems and protocols, potentially posing challenges for bridging the gap between new technology and legacy systems. Skill gap. The development and deployment of QFS will necessitate a pool of highly skilled professionals proficient in quantum computing, a relatively novel and evolving field, potentially resulting in a shortage of experts in this specialized domain, thereby potentially hindering the pace of QFS adoption and implementation. While promising, experts anticipate that the QFS may not be production ready for a decade or longer due to these complex challenges, emphasizing the need for coordinated efforts across multiple dimensions. The financial world of tomorrow. The futuristic vision of a quantum financial system points to a world where transactions are settled instantly. Data analytics provides perfect predictive power, and security is virtually unbreakable. While this may sound utopian, quantum computing brings that possibility closer to reality. In the long run, a full-fledged quantum financial system that maximizes security and efficiency may emerge. However, revolutionary advances in quantum computing and cryptography will likely be needed before this is feasible. Until then, equipping financial institutions with quantum building blocks can provide incremental advantages, setting the stage for more widespread transformation. The financial world of tomorrow is expected to see many changes, including more market liquidity, The financial system may have more assets that are tradable and more trading that is automated, more non-bank finance. Non-bank forms of finance may grow as companies diversify away from banks and issue bonds. Micro-targeted investment offerings may be tailored to individual customers' risk and return preferences based on their social media and shopping habits. Bank risk models may constantly search for data anomalies to fine-tune capitalization and provisioning levels. Quantum computing is used for encryption, making the QFS nearly impervious to fraud and hacking. Quantum security is a branch of cybersecurity that protects data and communication from threats posed by quantum computing. Quantum computers could break traditional encryption methods using algorithms which could compromise the security of many enterprises and digital infrastructures. Quantum security refers to the use of quantum mechanics to secure the transfer of data. Quantum mechanics provides a powerful tool for encrypting messages and ensuring their privacy and integrity. In cybersecurity, quantum security is pivotal due to quantum computing's potential to undermine encryption. This emerging field aims to develop quantum-resistant algorithms to protect digital communications against quantum threats. Transparency and trust. The QFS is decentralized, so all transactions are transparent, auditable, and recorded on an immutable ledger. Transparency and trust are closely related and are considered to be important for building strong relationships in both personal and professional settings. Transparency is the practice of being open and honest about one's actions, intentions, and decisions. Trust is built over time through consistent, honest, and reliable actions and interactions. Transparency can help build trust in the short term and over time. It can help create a sense of safety in personal relationships and can help employees understand what they need to do, how, and why in a professional setting. Transparency can be contagious and can spread throughout an organization when leaders demonstrate that it's acceptable to be open and honest. Transparency can also help leaders be seen as approachable and build respect. In a professional setting, transparency can involve providing detailed information about products or services such as ingredients, sourcing, and manufacturing processes. In a personal setting, transparency can involve engaging in open and clear conversations with children and their families. In the words of Jack Welch, trust happens when leaders are transparent. Increasing transparency is an accessible first step for leaders to take in order to build trust. Transparency can be thought of as being open and honest, expressing your opinions and being direct. Quantum computing speeds up transaction processing times, which can reduce costs and increase efficiency. The term quantum efficiency may apply to incident photon to converted electron ratio of a photosensitive device, or it may refer to the TMR effect of a magnetic tunnel junction. Quantum efficiency, QE, is a measure of how well a device converts photons into electrons. It's a key factor in the performance of light-detecting devices like cameras, solar cells, and photodetectors. Quantum efficiency, number of electrons flowing in the EPC system per one absorbed photon, should be high, ideally 1.0, to construct an efficient electrochemical photocell. For an efficient utilization of light energy, the incident photons should be totally absorbed within the space charge layer. Quantum efficiency is one of the most important parameters used to evaluate the quality of a detector and is often called the spectral response to reflect its wavelength dependence. It is defined as the number of signal electrons created per incident photon. QE is dependent on the wavelength of light being detected. For example, a sensor might have a QE of 95% at 500-600 nanometers wavelength, but a lower QE at shorter and longer wavelengths. Different sensor technologies have different QE values. For example, high-end scientific cameras can have a QE of up to 95%, while other sensors have lower QE. QE is expressed as a percentage, so if a sensor has a QE of 75% and is exposed to 100 photons, it will produce 75 electrons. QE is also known as IPCE. QE is also known as the incident photon to converted electron IPCE ratio. QE is important for low-light imaging. QE is especially important for low-light imaging because photons in the near-red and violet regions of the visible spectrum have a lower QE. The QFS can enhance the performance of AI and machine learning algorithms, which can lead to more precise forecasting and risk management. The QFS also involves the use of blockchain technology and central bank digital currencies, CBDCs. The World Economic Forum released a report in January 2024 that warns that the transition to quantum technology will bring new cybersecurity threats to the financial system. The report calls for close collaboration between industry and regulators to build a more secure, harmonized, and informed global financial sector. We believe Nesara and the quantum financial system is the proposal of Ashtar Command and has some small print at the bottom and isn't fair, equitable, and revenue neutral. Ashtar Command would not be doing their job if they didn't let the President's Advisory Panel for Tax Reform be made aware of their hustle game. They would hope that someone on that panel takes a serious look at it. It's the same system they have on their planet. That's all we have for you today, family. Hit that like button. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more bangers. Thanks for listening. Peace and love. Wadu.